Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Try Life On podcast. Today, I'm speaking to Angela Marturano. Angela is an incredible woman. I'm glad that I found her organically. I'm saying that word on purpose, and you'll see why. But I'm glad I found her organically, and she was willing to spend some time with me on the podcast. Angela is the co-founder and president of Orchid Holistic Search. It's a boutique executive firm. They focus exclusively on placing executives within the natural products industry. She's been doing it for the last 15 years. And candidates with companies anywhere from $5 to $500 million of revenue is where she focuses on positions like director, vice president, essentially C-suite levels. The reason why she does that is because she cares immensely about the natural products industry and about the world itself. Let's be honest, we're poisoning ourselves with chemicals in everything. There's chemicals in our food, there's chemicals in our skin, there's chemicals in lotion, there's chemicals in cleaners. There is a big push in the natural product space to try and get life to be as clean as possible. We're going to need artificial things here and there, but Angela's one of the people who focuses on holistic living. She's also a partner at Blanco y Negro Sostenible, a woman-led organic farm in Costa Rica where she specializes in greens, oyster mushrooms, veggies, and baked goods. And that is obviously what caught my attention. As you know, I am a big fan of the world. She relocated from Detroit, Michigan, down to Costa Rica 6 or 7 years ago with the co-founder of her firm, her husband, Matt Marturano, and her beautiful son. And as she says, she lives on rich volcanic soil where they grow coffee, bananas, fruits, veggies, flowers. She just has this amazing lifestyle and an amazing glow about life, who she is, what she's trying to accomplish, and the people she's trying to accomplish it with. I'm very drawn to her as a person. I find her to be fascinating. I think all of us in some capacity, I know I tend to lean towards episodes where people have leaned into other cultures. The reason why I like to do that is because it shows that we can at any time rewire and replace ourselves from our existing environment into a totally new environment, which evokes emotion, which is how we should be trying life on. We should be feeling good about where we are, what we are doing, who we are interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And Angela is frankly one of the greatest examples that I have found of it, not because she picked up and left to go to Costa Rica, but because she was very intentional about her life, business, professional, and personal wise with her husband, Matt, and what she has created in the form of sustainable farming, a conference center, which she'll talk about, where executives come down to visit her from time to time, et cetera. I think this is a beautiful conversation for those of you who are trying to try life on. If you want to reach out to Angela, just track her down. She's very active on LinkedIn. I think that's the best place to check her out, but there are a couple websites where you can find her as well. We'll link that. But for now, sit back, relax, and enjoy this wide-reaching conversation with my friend, Angela Marturano. What up? Hi.
Hey,
You're
how
you're
are
like
you?
you're I feel like I've been cyber stalking you for two in a good way, in a good way.
Well,
Like
that's really creepy. Nice to meet you. No,
I'm just
thanks.
joking. How are you? Where are you?
I'm doing really well. I am in my cabin in
Yeah,
Costa Rica,
yeah.
and we're here like sort of temporarily in this space. We're building a house, so hopefully it's not too loud.
No.
Uh,
I mean, whatever's in your natural environment, it's all good. It's my
Normally it's more birds and butterflies, but today it's
oh,
construction.
it's my pleasure to meet you, seriously. I want to tell you why I was so intrigued by your profile and then your business and then your journey, just because I listened to a couple of different podcasts that you did and stuff. You're like my spirit animal. You're a little bit like my hero in a lot of ways. Yeah. Try Life On is just it's a philosophy that I have kind of lived by for the last 2 decades, but never really knew it. And a few years ago, somebody asked me to coach them from a lifestyle design perspective. And I said, why? And they expressed to me, Maurice, you've had 5 lifetimes in one, and the way that you live is very different. And background for you, so I was an executive for 25 years. I was in the military for 22 at the same time as a federal agent and a lieutenant colonel. When I was 33, I added being a street cop at night at the same time. And then I've always been a traveler. So I'm 98 countries, 350 times, something like that. And then I've always done real estate. So I've earned my financial freedom through real estate in my 20s and 30s, and I buy apartment complexes now. But the biggest thing is everything for me has been about lifestyle and doing career work that it wasn't about money. It was actually more that I wanted to engage the planet as I wanted to, kind of the way I sense from you, you care about holistic living and but just from a different perspective. So when I ran into you, I was like, man, you are genuinely doing what I sense that I want to do relative to the farming, relative to
Mm.
your business, because I spend a lot of time in Cyprus and coastal Lebanon.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so we have a lot in common from that perspective. So I just wanted to. There are so many people like you and I who want to do things that you and I are doing, and I love finding people who are living an extraordinary life, and I really think that you are, and that's why I tracked you down to come on the podcast.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered and honored, and I feel seen because everything that I have done, yes, has been very intentionally crafted so that I could be here right now talking to you on a beautiful Wednesday morning.
Yeah, and I sense the intentionality. So for the folks who are listening now, and I would have done a little bit of a preview before, but just introduce yourself and a little bit about your journey from Detroit to where you are, what you're doing, why, and we'll go from there.
Okay. My name is Angela Marturano. I am the co-founder of a boutique executive search firm focused in natural CPG. That means that we work with companies that have missions to make products that are better for people in the planet, usually mission-driven organizations, usually startups, and we help them align with incredible talent that takes them to the next level. My husband and I co-founded the company back in 2010 in Detroit. I had been working for another recruitment firm. It just spoiler alert, third party automotive suppliers. It's not as fun of a niche as natural CPG. And my husband's a naturopathic medical doctor. So we
Yeah.
combined our worlds and our trainings so that we could put a holistic approach to executive search. 14 years later, we still love what we do. Along the path, I think actually it was when we closed our very first deals, we took a little escape from the Detroit winter and came down to Costa Rica with no itinerary, just 3 weeks in a backpack for each of
Wow.
us.
Wow.
And we traveled around and we fell in love with the country, with the weather, with the peace, with the food, with the people, with the ethos that we saw people living with here. And we wanted that for ourselves. So for the next several years, we figured out, a way to get ourselves down here.
Mm.
And we did just that. We moved down in 2018 to Costa Rica. We landed on the beach like most expats in
Of
Detroit
course.
might.
Yeah.
Part of that was so that our child, who was 3 at the time, could be in an international bilingual school. We accomplished that goal. We had a couple good years of an
Wow.
immersion program at the beach, but we didn't find our people there. It was a lot of waves of expats coming in and out of the country. And then it was COVID had hit. And so we came to the middle of the country to spend some time in nature on a farm. Absolutely fell in love with the lifestyle in the region that we've now call home. And we moved here in 2020.
2020.
And then since, we got here, I knew no one. I knew it. I did not know a soul in this region of Costa Rica. So
Yeah.
the first thing we were trying to do is find good food. I mean, it's part of our lifestyle, right? Eating well is mental wellness, it's emotional, it's spiritual wellness. And so we found this little local woman-led farm called Blanco y Negro. We found them by way of locally made French cheeses and kale. And somehow over time, our relationship evolved. So I decided to become a partner and invest in that company and open a little natural store here in the area, which did not exist. It was just basically Maxi Pali, which is Walmart,
Yeah.
and farm stands.
Yep.
And so, so those are two main aspects of what I do for work and for play. I don't have a lot of time. I don't do sort of the normal going out or TV watching activities. And, you
Yeah.
can find me on the weekend hiking and shelling beans and spending time around bonfires and being in nature.
I love it. And now I remember how and why I started tracking you down a bit because I ran into your post on LinkedIn where you reintroduced yourself. I think I was connected to you through I can't remember his name, but anyways, I read that post where you reintroduced yourself. I saw Orchid Executive Search, I saw the farm, and then when you talked about outside of work, you talked about putzing around in the garden and bird watching and cooking farm to table meals. It's for me it's a heaven thing. For folks who are listening on the podcast, a lot of people are in, let's say, the traditional 9 to 5. I was in the traditional 9 to 5 and I liked it, by the way. I always talk about leveraging your 9 to 5 more than it leverages you. I think you were in executive search at the time as well, and it somehow you picked up those skills and decided to transfer it to Orchid Holistic Search. But you made some kind of leap. You were like, let me take what I know and go be entrepreneurial. I don't know if you had met your partner yet, but go be entrepreneurial and take those skills and start something. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much skill their normal 9 to 5 gives them that they could leverage to go do something. Could you just speak to that aspect a bit of, I know, taking what you learned from what you were doing in the traditional workplace and transferring it into an entrepreneurial endeavor?
Definitely. I think, uh, learning recruitment or learning any 9 to 5 position or skill,
Yeah.
right? That's something it comes along with knowledge of a process, right? Of how to do things, how to speak to things, a pricing model, all of those good things. But what it came down to for me was an ethos that was missing
Mm.
in the world of search. It was that the people aspect of people and culture was missing. We were treating search transactionally like a resume meeting a job description. Those are two
Oh,
very, very one-dimensional items. And so our goal in creating a holistic search process was to consider the whole person
yeah.
and the whole opportunity, past, present, future, mission, all of those things. So I think really a lot of what it comes down to in terms of taking those translatable skills, very important translatable skills that you learn in a role in making that leap has to do everything with your own special, unique lens and viewpoint, that je ne sais quoi that you put into a process, the love and care that you put into a business. I think everybody's got their unique spin. I think everybody
Yeah.
could take a look at their role and say, how could I do this uniquely? How could I do this a little bit better? How could I do this in a way that feels good?
Yeah. I know Matt's story a little bit. Nor naturopath phys- physician, I think.
Yes.
Did you already have the sense of being in this kind of space before you met him, or was it as a result of you guys kind of connecting and learning that there was a niche that kind of was not yeah, kind of missing. There was a niche that was missing a little bit.
That's a great question. I had never considered this industry before meeting
Okay.
Matt.
Yeah.
So when I met him, my recruiter brain goes, what do you do? Okay, what do your colleagues do? Are there any other avenues for you to pursue in a career path? What do they look like? Oh, there's this industry. What's that about? And so it was my curiosity and his curiosity likewise. Wait, how much are you putting in of yourself to this? How much of the work you're doing is your effort, your business development, your closing the deals, your lead generation, and how much
Yeah.
of it is the business and how much are you getting paid versus the business? And so we came to a conclusion that after doing a little bit of research, that there really wasn't anyone focused exclusively in natural CPG,
Yeah.
and definitely no one was talking about putting a holistic spin and looking at the whole picture and the whole person while doing search. So no, definitely I owe all of that piece to
Yeah.
him.
But it goes to it goes to the phrase I don't remember where I learned it, but finding a niche inside of a niche and honing in on it, being really good at it, being recognized for it, and it seems like that's what you've done. CPG is consumer product goods.
consumer packaged goods. So it
Consumer packaged goods.
extends to supplements, personal care, natural beauty, and then food and beverage. So it is a world that has expanded
Yeah.
greatly in the last 14 years. And when we first said, hey, we're going to focus on natural products, our friends and family definitely thought that we had flown the cuckoo nest, right?
Mm.
They thought that's such a tiny niche. Why would you do that? And we're really glad that we sort of have doubled down on our niche throughout the years and gotten even more specific.
I've learned about it, and I heard you say in an interview, it might have been one of your earlier interviews, but you were talking about what I put on my body, what I put in my body, what I put on my skin, what I breathe in. I've been on a health journey for the past 2.5 years. So I'm 48 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life, mentally, physically, spiritually. My now 24-year-old, who's actually here visiting from Atlanta, I'm in DC today, but he came up to me on my 46th birthday and just floored me. He was like, "You look terrible."
Ooh,
He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. So I'm the, ex-military, law enforcement, wannabe NFL player, physical guy who was always in the gym and was very disciplined about being up at 4 a.m., eating well, things of that nature. I don't mind having a drink or two here and there, but I kind of lost myself in, I've always been healthy, so I'm always going to be healthy, which is not the case, especially as you get older, as you know. So over the past 2 years, I shifted my diet. I went back to being the gym rat that I used to be, but more so, diet played more of a role. You can't outwork a bad diet. Like
absolutely
and I
not.
thought I could. I think that's what it always was for me. So I lost 35 pounds. I'm back to deadlifting weight that I was doing in my 20s. It's kind of crazy. But where my head has gone now is much more reading labels, what's in it, especially for food. So I tend to find butchers now. I'm a meat eater, but I tend to find butchers. I don't like going to the regular grocery store because 95% of products in the regular grocery store are preservative laden or they're not whole food products at all. So for me in my house, it's usually blueberries, watermelon, frozen grapes if I can find them organic, but they're hard to find. And then I just eat a lot of meat because I know what's in meat. And if I can get it, free pasture or whatever, or open pasture, great. But if I can't, it's the US. You're gonna struggle to find that type of stuff.
True.
And I am it is amazing to me how my mental faculties have sharpened ever since. I don't think we realize, especially in the US, how much junk we are actually feeding into ourselves or putting on our skin or what have you. And your industry is such a good, we need it. We need it. But for some reason, it's just not something that gets enough attention from my perspective. But I just wanted to tell you that I was on a bit of a journey so I can relate to what you're talking about.
I love that. You can immediately feel the impacts when you change and shift your diet to, from the prepackaged foods, like you mentioned, preservative chemicals, flavors, colors. Our taste buds get used to that. And then when we eat real food, we're like, this kind of tastes plain.
Right.
But after time, no, tomatoes do taste like tomatoes, and
Yes, they do.
watermelon is all you need. Put a little salt and lime on there. Like, good, clean food is such an impact for overall mind, body, spiritual wellness.
Massive.
All of it,
Massive. But can
massive.
you educate us a little bit or educate me a little bit? So now where my head is going, and I'm not trying to get all crazy, but now I'm starting to look at like shampoos and deodorants and the metals that are in them. And I don't know it well enough, but now that I've kind of taken care of what I eat, I want to start taking care of what I use for the rest of time. What just give me a little bit of perspective on just products and what's in them, what we are doing to ourselves with everything that we use.
Gosh, I mean, talk about like hormone disrupting chemicals
Yeah,
that we find in our daily products, right? Like in our shampoos, especially in our deodorants, those are going right into the bloodstream,
exactly. Yeah.
through your skin. Your skin is an organ and you're going to be absorbing all of that. So it's a shocker, and I don't think it happens overnight.
Mm.
But I had a little side business in Detroit a long time ago of helping people sort of find substitutions for all of their products.
Hmm.
And it's really eye-opening to go through line by line your skincare, what you put in your, toothpaste, what you put in your hair, what you put on your body, um, even all of the over-the-counter drugs that we pop like they're candy. Oh, got a headache? Just not even a second thought. Whereas traditionally, you can find herbal substitutions. You can find products that don't have as many chemicals. Maybe it's a baking soda based shampoo, deodorant or
Yep.
toothpaste.
Yep.
But there are natural products that do work and are effective. Deodorant is the hardest one
Yeah.
that I that I've found to
I tried
substitute.
one. It didn't go well. I was like, oh man, I gotta find something else. This one's not gonna work.
I'll DM you about that in a
Okay.
bit. I finally found one that's good, but
That's awesome. That's awesome.
um,
I know you're on the executive search side of all this, but I sense that you live this way too, especially with Matt being a physician in the space. Being in Costa Rica versus being in Detroit, I'm gonna I know the answer, but I'm gonna guess that the environment lends itself to much more natural living, being connected to I call her Mama Nature, but being connected to Mama Nature way more. What's the shift been like going from a Detroit's cool too, as is DC, but I feel different in coastal Lebanon. I'm sure you feel different where you are there. Can you just talk about just the environment, what it's like to live there, how your lifestyle shifted on a day-to-day basis?
I mean, my lifestyle has done a 180, right? I mean, in Detroit, I was living in a small, modest home in the suburbs of Detroit. You walk outside and it's just grid after grid for my nightly walks. When I would try to take them, it's getting in a car to go drive to a yoga studio for that. Or if I wanted to take a hike in nature, better plan on a 20 to 30 to 40-minute drive to go find that. All shopping was done at, Kroger or Whole Foods or
Yeah.
Plum Market, one of those, Trader Joe's. And yeah, you had to seek, it really felt, especially with, living within a community of other people who do those same things and commute to work and buy those brands and exercise at studios. It, it, it's really hard to sort of break free from the
Yeah.
pack. And what I've found living here, it is 100% different lifestyle. There I would wake up, you know, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. Here I'm naturally up. My circadian rhythms have reset. I am up every day at 5:30. So is my entire family.
Oh,
I'm able to see the sunset, and then
yep.
we get a 12-hour day. So sunrise and sunset at 5:30, basically, give or take a few minutes, almost every day.
Yeah.
So your whole body resets. I live on a farm now where I'm able to go walk outside. I do a little walk in the morning. I find some berries to eat, some uchuvas, some moras. I've got a gardener who helps, but we grow our own coffee and roast our own coffee and drink our own coffee and eat our own bananas and beans and plantains and yucca and all of the things, and growing some lettuces and greens now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't take it for granted, and I don't take it lightly that every night I can, and I love to cook, so that's one thing, but every night I look down at my plate, and maybe there's like one or two things that I buy from our natural market,
Yeah.
which are like, a balsamic vinegar and olive oil, or maybe a cheese, but everything else comes from my land or my partner's
I
farmland.
love it. I love
And
it.
there's something about that. There's something about tapping into the energy of the food and being able to watch it go through a life cycle process, harvest it, wash it, and know that it's yours and know where it came from. That really makes eating even more of a joy.
I as you were saying it, I was getting chills up and down my spine. So I'm a 4 a.m. riser usually.
Ooh,
Today I was up at 3:45. I try to get to the gym by 4. I just like getting everything done before the sun comes up and stuff.
I hear
But
you.
when so I split my time. I'm usually 2 weeks DC because I have an 11-year-old here. And then now I'm spending a lot of time in coastal Lebanon. And usually by 5 a.m. I'm in the Mediterranean Sea. Usually by 7:30 a.m. I'm down center of town at the butcher. I usually go like every other day. He knows that I'm coming. If I go into the grocery store, it's just to get produce and eggs and actual butter, not the margarine crap that we've been fed that is food. It's just that style of I don't a lot of the people I spend time with want it and are familiar with it. The fact that you can slow down a bit and actually plug into planet and Earth as intended. Planet and Earth as intended is my statement. But I know that feeling. But I think it's really hard for people back in the US, especially in the US. Let's just say Western culture or whatever.
Sure.
It's not, I don't think it's people's fault. I think 20 to 30 years of formal education telling us what to be, where to go, what success looks like, and then the constant bombardment of commercialism and buy this. You have a problem, buy this. You have a problem, buy this. Where it used to be we would create something to solve a problem. Now we're buying everything to solve a problem, whether it's medicine or some kind of nasty food. The funny thing is, food is the thing that's making us sick. So then we got to get medicine, then we get more food. It's kind of a crazy thing.
It's a
Um,
totally whack cycle.
it is a wax cycle. Has your family, now that you've been down in Costa for a while, and even just have this mindset, it's not about Costa Rica or Lebanon, just this mindset in general, but has your family been impacted by the way you think about things, by the way you live your life? Do you sense that it's rubbing off on them a bit? Like your extended family, I'd say.
To some degree. I mean, my my sister, one of my sisters visits regularly. She gets it
Yeah.
wholeheartedly. I've seen some of my family shift to using more natural products over time. I won't
Yeah.
take credit fully for it, but I think my mom recently, like I sent her a photo dump of the farm and what's growing, and
That's
she's like,
awesome.
"Wow, you're gonna really live a long, healthy lifestyle." And so they can see it, they can see it, they can appreciate it, and not everybody can, make the time to come down and visit as often as we'd like, and it's yeah, that's one hard thing about living
Yeah.
thousands of miles away from family, but I think we only have one shot in this particular lifetime, and you got to live it to the most authentic, truest
Absolutely.
form that you can personally
Absolutely. Absolutely. All
do.
right. So let's get a little bit. I'm gonna ask you to get a little bit practical with me. You and I are parents. I know you have I think you have a son. Yeah. So when you got down there, when you got to Costa Rica, how did you handle? Because I think a lot of people want to move and they get concerned about education and how's my kid going to be raised? Who's he going to interact with? I'm just curious how you went about integrating your son into the new lifestyle and then how he's most likely enjoying it. But a lot of people have kids and don't know how to go about it. So how did you go about it?
Well, very intentionally, I mean, is the short answer.
Yeah.
We have been wanting to move to Costa Rica, but when our son was born, we started thinking about schools. Metro Detroit isn't necessarily known for having an incredible school district. Not
Yeah.
to mention, we didn't really live in like a super great neighborhood. So in terms of like wanting to go to the best schools, we probably would have had to move anyway, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to move down when he was 3. So he started his entire school journey
Oh, he
here.
was young. Okay.
He
Okay.
was 3. So he started preescolar in a bilingual school. That was sort of the predominant factor that we looked at first is where can our child have a good education?
Yeah.
So that's why we selected the beach first. There was, lots of expats. So there was a program at a school that's sort of a one-to-one. They provide an education for a local Tico child for every gringo that pays the tuition,
Yeah.
essentially. Do a lot of good in the community. And they had a program where every, 3 days a week it was in English and 2 in Spanish fully. So with that preschool format, come in, put your coat, sing a song, sit on the rug. And when you do those steps, all in English one day and the next in Spanish, they catch on
Mm,
really quickly. So
mm.
his Spanish within 2 years was great. Then we felt like we could actually move into a less touristy area after that.
Oh, I see.
So where we
Okay.
are today, it's fully Spanish speaking. There's an English class, but it's very light. It's English light. He's doing amazing. He's corrects my Spanish all the time. He's my little translator. He's thriving in his classes and he fully appreciates. And we talk to him all the time about the comparisons because, of course, he goes to Detroit in the summer. We take him at the peak time of summer and he sees, all of the cool activities that you can do there and all the family and going to the supermarket there is like a huge thing for him.
Yeah.
We took him to Cedar Point last summer. So like he really sees the contrast between US lifestyle and Costa Rica, and I think he does fully appreciate the ability to go out and pick his own food
That's
and
amazing.
be able to run around and have both worlds actually.
Yeah, so it works. I'm just curious, the school where he is now, how old is your son now?
He's 9.
He's 9. The extracurricular activity, so I get the standard curriculum, but is it sports? Is it more nature activities? Just for folks who are listening, what are the extracurricular activities related to school down there?
So soccer is number one, football,
Of
you
course,
know.
I don't even know what I'm thinking.
Um,
Yeah.
Absolutely. He hasn't been really super into football because it's such an ingrained part of culture here that all the other little kids, they know all the soccer players here and they know the culture around it. And he never really, there is some third culture nature to raising a child in another culture. So he does feel a little outside of that scope, hasn't really been interested in soccer. I let him lead. He loves horseback riding, so we'll go to different farms and ride on the weekends. Loves to ride his bike at our partner farm with his friends. And we both take music lessons every Thursday. So he's learning ukulele and I'm learning guitarra.
Yeah.
And it's been really special.
I love it. So Eastern Mediterranean is my home. So when Noah, my 10, 11-year-old, when he comes, it's usually beachside activities or nature activities. Soccer's a big thing. We find something to do. There's always something to do. It's a beautiful thing. You mentioned living, so I want to shift to the farming. And you mentioned, I don't know if you live on the farm that you're a part of or that's a different venture, but are you actually living there?
I have 2 farms.
You have two.
So,
Oh,
so the
okay.
first the first farm that I invested in is 10 minutes away from me. So
Okay.
that's Blanco y Negro. That was founded by my partners, Maria and Laura. They're sisters.
Yeah.
They have a beautiful story. I can't get into too much detail, but basically they reclaimed land, family land, in
Okay.
a arduous battle, started
Gotcha.
literally with just seeds in the ground and have built a flourishing business. So that farm is 10 minutes from me. We grow oyster mushrooms, kale, lots of greens, beets, and a whole host of things. And then a year ago, we bought this property, which is a small farm 10 minutes away. It already had a permaculture food forest growing on it and this cabin that you see me in.
Yeah.
So it had a lot of what we were looking for. Here we had a ton of yucca growing, bananas, plantains, and we've put in dozens of fruit trees and all kinds of berries and other items in the garden.
That living's got to be awesome. I'm aware that and the reason why I was so keen on the whole farm thing is because I sent, so where I live in DC, and I'm in DC right now, it's not actually a farm, but the house that I'm in is an old 1908 farmhouse. So the
Mm.
land is pretty huge. I'm in a metropolitan area, so it's a little bit different. But I have aspirations to, I don't know if it's going to be in coastal Lebanon or it's going to be somewhere else, but I have aspirations to just enough and just buy a small farm and be outside. And I've done my fair share of entrepreneurial ventures and corporate stuff. And the thing that seems to make me happy is the more I'm outside in Mother Nature, and not just, I'm a philosopher, or I love the sea, but not just by the sea, but actually being out in the woods and mountains and wilderness and stuff.
Mm.
So I saw you were associated to a farm or started doing all that farming, and I'm like, oh my God, she's living my life. You are such a wonderful example of the art of the possible.
Thank you so much, Maurice. It's so sweet. We have an internship program. You are
Yeah,
more
I
than
saw
welcome
that.
to
Yeah, tell
come.
me.
And they're month-long programs throughout the summer. So it's June, July, and August. And we have spaces available at the farmhouse to live, work, learn, and live in community, understanding what that looks like, what it means. I mean, at Blanco y Negro, the girls that we feed the entire staff breakfast and lunch. It's all cooked from products from our farm. So it's really a community effort to make the meals, to care for the gardens, and to do the business and logistics of bringing our stuff down to restaurants and down to our own store. So
Amazing.
the internship programs, they have a curriculum where you're learning hands-on, hands in the soil
Mm.
during each week. And then on the weekend, there's a complimentary activity to sort of showcase how that translates into business. So, for example, people
Oh,
that come down here, they'll go tour then the local cheese factory, coffee farm, or cacao farm and learn how chocolate is grown and look at our, see the store and the whole logistics process. So they not only
okay.
learn how to put their hands in the dirt and grow things and compost and inputs and all of that, but then they see the tangible output and how we are lifting up our entire community while we're doing it.
I love that.
So yeah, so it's a program to live and work on the farm and really learn a ton.
I have one parting question for you, but I just kind of want to say out loud for the universe to hear. I there are so many people who let's say I coach in lifestyle design, as I told you, and it's grown. So it's been like 200 people or something. It's been pretty impressive. Yeah, it's been nice because, and you can coach people, but you learn from them along the way. I love the fact that you intentionally, I'm giving credit for it too. You intentionally went after your lifestyle. You intentionally created a business in that lifestyle. And now you're extending and giving back to people through that business, not only in your own local community, but people who are far away. When I think about the 25 years that I spent, the company I work for is called Accenture. It's one of the big consulting firms. Yeah.
Part
I loved it. It was good, but so many of my friends are still there in a bit of quiet desperation. They want to
mm,
go do something that is, I don't even know the right way to express it. They want to go do something that's more intentional to a fulfilling life kind of thing. And I just feel like you're such a great example. What would be one more thing that you would leave people with, knowing very well? So the podcast is Try Life On. I tell people you can try life on whenever you want. You can orient your life towards time freedom, towards location freedom. You can orient your life towards a business that expresses purpose, where you feel great getting up every day. You can build meaningful relationships with people who are in spaces you know nothing about, aka regenerative farming. I'm learning. But what would be one thing you would leave folks with, if who want to try life on, but I don't know if they lack the motivation or they're afraid, but what would one thing be from you, given your journey and your experience?
you're going to have to sacrifice and give some things up to get there. It's not pretty. It's not necessarily easy. It's hard work. It's probably going to have to do with reorganizing your finances and getting real with yourself because that's a part of life, right? You're going to have to figure out how to make it work, but the other side of that is so beautiful and you're worth it. That's what I would say.
Mic drop, if I could. Where do people find you if they want to reach out?
I am often musing on LinkedIn, so you can find me there. I muse a little bit about everything, life and business and Costa Rica and hiring. So if any of those things interest you, you can find me on the good old LinkedIn.
Fair enough. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad that I read that particular post and it drew my attention to you, because you really, you should be proud. Like, I don't know if you ever look in the mirror, or you and Matt ever reflect, but you've created something beautiful, and it's a wonderful example, not for people to emulate, but just to know that they can go create whatever it is that they want to create. They don't have to follow status quo. Thank you for coming to the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yes, their own beautiful wild dreams. I love that. Thank you for seeing me. You're an excellent interviewer. You're inquisitive. You obviously did your homework, and I really appreciate you and the work that you're doing to inspire others.
That's my pleasure. My pleasure. My pleasure. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
So Angela just asked me, I know so you just asked me how I found out about Lebanon. Do you remember Anthony Bourdain?
Oh my God.
So when I was I've been traveling, Angela, since I was 15. My father sent me to France when I was 15. I road tripped with a family. It changed my life, and I've been traveling ever since. And I just thought I was strange. And the reason why I thought I was strange was because everybody would go touristy stuff. And what I wanted to do was what you were doing. Matter of fact, the phrase that you said at the beginning, I didn't find my people on the coast. I knew exactly what you meant. Right away, I knew what you meant. So when I found his TV show, I felt like I had a brother all of a sudden, and I felt normal, right? So I was sitting in Turkey. I told you I was a federal agent. I was running a field office in Western Turkey. I caught his episode on Lebanon, and I was like, I'm gonna go down there, and I ended up down there in November of 2019 when the it's not revolution, but when Thauda was happening. There was a bit of a revolution going on, and it just like everybody was so open about life and what's happening. I just fell for it, kept exploring it. I found myself every 1 or 2 months going back. So in a 4-year period, I went back there like, I don't know, 40 times, 45 times. Yeah.
That's a lot. You're not kidding.
It has really changed me. And to your point about finding people, Beirut's cool, but the environment in Beirut is more city. I'm born in New York, raised in Boston, live in Washington, D.C. I know city life. I needed something different. And I went out to the coast and just kind of found my community, found my people, and I'm always there. And then to the extent that you're doing your executive search, I'm a real estate guy. So I found a husband of a friend of mine living in Cyprus about a half hour away by plane. And we started developing real estate there. So I've like created this little life between the two. And it's just perfect. It's just perfect. But what resonates with me about you was like you've plugged into the community in a way that I'm still trying to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it makes everybody's life easier when you're in partnership with local people. I'm just curious, so how did you start developing, how has that journey been doing business in a totally
Tough,
foreign country
tough.
with the language barrier, I'm guessing?
It's been tough. So in Cyprus, I'm in northern Cyprus, so it's Turkish, Greek, and English is used. Everything's in Turkish documents, sometimes in English documents. Everything is paper. You can't find stuff. It's slow. Like it's beyond island time. It's beyond island time. But what I tell people is real estate or any business is purposeful. It's just purposeful towards lifestyle. So I didn't really do it to go make money. I did it because I didn't want to be, and you know how this is down in Costa. I don't want to be the American who just shows up and goes to the restaurant and eats food and is not part of the community. So I was like, well, let me develop real estate and then let me see if I can do like a public private partnership with the local municipality. So I'm trying to work on that now. So I'm a known commodity in northern Cyprus, and I'm going to be a known commodity in coastal Lebanon too. Yes, I'm going to make money, but it's going to be as an outcome of a conscious decision I made to try to be part of community. I think it works. I think it works. I think we should do more of it, but people are so focused on, okay, I have to make the most. I have to get the most. And the way that I think about it is what does it do for lifestyle? What does it do for people? And how is it going to help you? And to be blunt, I'm just taking a shot. I'm taking a chance. Lebanon is not the it's not the most common place, especially for an American to go, but and it's tumultuous over there with everything going on with Israel and Palestine and all that type of stuff. But I just fell in love with the land. I fell in love with the people. The hardware has issues, but excuse me, the software has issues, the government and all that, but the hardware is beautiful. It's beautiful. So I just don't stop going.
Okay. Well, I love that. And hopefully you can find the right community to continue growing in partnership with. It makes life a little bit easier, I've found. I don't think that I would be doing the next step that we're going to be taking
Yeah.
alone. So that's very brave of you.
Hey guys, this is Maurice, host of the Try Life On podcast, and thank you for listening to another episode. I hope you are finding it useful and helping you design your own lifestyle that you don't need a vacation from. If that's the case, please consider dropping a review for me, whether in Apple, iTunes, or in Spotify. Drop a review, put some stars on it, give me some feedback on how I can make the podcast better, what information you are looking for. I am doing my best to get information to you on the Try Life On principles, the 5 freedoms, how to build lifestyle, travel hacking, all of it. And I want to do it for you. So please do a review for me. And until next time, my name is Maurice Philogene, and this is the Try Life On podcast. Peace.